Hello, here for a review of an album that has just come out recently, the other week actually, The Car by Arctic Monkeys, their latest album. This is their 7th album and the follow-up to 2018's divisive Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. So I'll start off by showing you this one and only vinyl copy I have, which I believe is off their official store. It's some grey limited edition vinyl thing, and I have to say, I'm not a big fan of this because this particular packaging, because I'm not even going to take the record out because I've taken it out once, I've played it once, and I don't think I'll be able to play it again because I feel like the record is too big for the actual card. So I feel like I'm going to break it if I keep pushing the record in and out. So that's not exactly a great start for this album, is it? But I don't know if that's a universal problem with all copies, if it's just this one special grey copy thing, coloured vinyl. But in terms of the actual package itself, it's actually the first Arctic Monkeys album ever not to be a gatefold. It's just a single album, and it feels cheap. It just feels like a bit of cardboard with this picture glued on. You probably can't tell, but it is literally just that. It has literally been glued on. So yeah, but so that's a little bit of a criticism. The artwork, the actual packaging isn't great, but in terms of the album itself, that's what we're here to talk about, more the content of it. The music is more what we're interested in. So Arctic Monkeys, these are arguably still one of the biggest bands in Britain. They're probably the biggest band to have come out of this country in the last 20 years nearly now. And this is their 7th album. This is their first one not to go to number 1. They were held off by Taylor Swift last week. So, but they mustn't care about being number 1 anymore, because I imagine they'd otherwise have delayed the release of this album. But yeah, I believe this cover photo was taken by drummer Matt Helders in LA, I think that is. It's definitely in America, you can tell by the car. I quite like the artwork. I think it's really cool artwork, just a shame about the packaging. But like I say, this is the follow-up to Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino from 2018, which was a very controversial album. For me personally though, I actually really like Tranquility Base. In my opinion, and this is maybe a controversial opinion, it is the best Arctic Monkeys album. I will admit, when I first listened to it, I didn't get it. I didn't really understand what the hell it was, but it grew on me, and yeah, now it's my favourite. And for example, if I had the choice between listening to Fake Tales of San Francisco or the Ultra Cheese, without hesitation I would go with the Ultra Cheese. So yeah, this is the follow-up to that, and it's kind of a continuation of that, really. If you didn't like Tranquility Base, you're not going to like this. But this album, it was recorded, I have an iPad here with all my notes on, I've got a little bit to talk about here. So this album, it was recorded at Butley Priory in Sussex. The vocals for it were recorded at La Frette in Paris, which I believe is also where they recorded Tranquility Base. And the orchestration on this album was done at Rack Studios in London. So whilst with Tranquility Base, the big thing was the piano. It was very much a piano-driven album. This one, the piano's kind of taken a bit more of a back step. The guitars are back, but the orchestration is like an orchestra is really what drives this album. So Alex Turner began writing this album, I believe, in April-May 2019 time, after they'd finished their world tour for Tranquility Base. And his initial idea was to try and write an album and a song, or not even an album, just a song that you could close a show with. And arguably he's hit that with some of the songs on here. But his intention originally was to return to a more guitar-heavy sound, but not the sort of guitar sound of AM and Suck It and See and all that style, but return more to a heavier guitar sound. And it has got the guitars are more prominent on this album than on Tranquility Base, but I wouldn't call this a guitar-heavy album. Again, if you are into your guitars and your guitar music, this is really not an album for you. Yeah, so the initial recordings for this album, they happened in late 2019 at La Frette in Paris, but they scrapped those sessions. They scrapped all their recordings. The only thing that survived those sessions was Hello You, but otherwise they scrapped it, and it pretty much was left untouched for a year and a half until summer 2021, when the sessions resumed at Butley Priory. in Sussex, which I'm going to get to that in a sec. But in 2020, obviously during the lockdowns and stuff, Alex Turner was apparently hell-bent on trying to write riffs and make the album louder. But the music apparently didn't want to go there. Whatever he tried to write, it just wouldn't go down the loud sort of guitar riff sort of style of recordings. And it wasn't until when he wrote There Better Be a Mirror Ball and the intro to that in particular where he decided that that was the style they were going for. So yeah, like I said, the large amount of the sessions for this album took place at Butley Priory in Sussex, and it seems to have been inspired kind of by what the Stones did with Exile on Main Street in the 70s. If you don't know, that was recorded in the south of France in Keith Richards' basement, predominantly. And they've kind of been inspired by that because they were living at Butley Priory. The band moved in while they worked on the recording of this album. And yeah, I think it was just the backing tracks they did there. I don't think any vocals were done there, any orchestration were done there. So it would be interesting to hear how this album sounded when it first left Butley Priory. But anyway, then after that they went to La Frette in Paris, where they did the vocals. And then the last thing they did was in Rack Studios, which was the orchestration. And it's incredible to think, really, what this album must have sounded like without the orchestra, because there's a lot of tracks on here that are very much driven by the orchestra. It must have been a very different album before the orchestration was recorded. Anyway, like I said, this was the first Arctic Monkeys album here in the UK to not reach number 1. It did get to number 2, and it sold 119,000 copies in its first week, which in this day and age is unheard of, really. To sell that amount of albums in your first week and not get to number 1 is pretty much unfathomable in this day and age. Any other week they'd have got number 1 easily. But yeah, they haven't here. So I think that's all I want to say in terms of the background. So we're going to go into the track by track review now. There are 10 tracks on this album, and it opens with the lead single off the album, There Better Be a Mirror Ball. So yeah, like I said, this is the opening track. This was the lead single, and when you first listened to it, when I first heard it, I didn't really like it. I didn't really get it. I'm pleased to say though, it has grown on me, and I do actually really like this song now. I really like the intro, and then how it just sort of stops, and then there's like this jarring sort of dung, dung sort of thing, and then Alex Turner kicks in singing "Don't Get Emotional, It's Not Like You." Yeah, it's a brilliant song, and I understand why they picked this as the lead single, because it really does set the tone. If you do not like this song, if you did not like this single, you will not like this album, because this is literally like the perfect sort of umbrella of the entire thing. Yeah, it's a good song. It's a nice little ballad. It does set the tone well. Lyrics are interesting. I've heard some people say that this is autobiographical about Alex Turner's life, apparently about a breakup or something. I don't really know much about his personal life, but if that's what it's about, then it's very interesting. Yeah, like I say, it's grown on me a lot, this song, since I first heard it. When I first heard it, I didn't really care for it. I didn't listen to it for weeks, and then I started listening to it a lot more, and I'm pleased to have, because it's really grown on me, this one. And this song, along with a lot of this album, has kind of got a vibe that would, you know, like, it sounds like it should be on some sort of French film. One of those kind of like French avant-garde type films. Yeah, it sounds like the soundtrack to something that would be on one of those films. So yeah, There Better Be a Mirror Ball. If you like this song, you are going to like the rest of the album. If you don't like this song, you ain't going to like it. Luckily for me, I do like this song. So the second track is I Ain't Quite Where I Think I Am. So this, although There Better Be a Mirror Ball was the lead single, this song was the first thing we actually heard from it, because they started playing this one live, and I think they've done it live at more or less every gig since they started playing it. So it was the first thing we heard, and I really, really liked the live versions that I heard of this on YouTube and stuff before it came out. And then when the released version came out, I was underwhelmed. I was like, oh, it don't sound as good as it does live. But I'm pleased to say this has also grown on me. There's a common trend you're going to notice here. Yeah, this has also grown on me, and I think this is a really good song. It's got a really groovy bass line. Like, the bass really does drive this. It's kind of got a bit of a disco-y kind of vibe. And I've also wrote here that the backing vocals are on point. I assume it's predominantly Matt Helders doing the backing vocals. Yeah, they're really, really good. And the orchestration, again, there's orchestration virtually on every track on this album. Yeah, it's very good on this song. I really like it. It's kind of a bit more subtler on this song, but compared to something like Mirrorball. But yeah, it's still nice to have it. It's good. I particularly like the part of the song where it kind of slows down a bit and it sounds like it's finishing, and then it kicks back into, looks like the Riviera is coming into land. I really like that part of the song, like when the bass and the vocals kick back in. It's a really groovy song. Yeah, Ain't Quite Where I Think I Am. Really, really good song. Right, track 3 is Sculptures of Anything Goes. This is a bit of an ugly duckling on the album because it's nothing like anything else on the album. There's a little bit of orchestration, but not much. I've wrote it's a very bassy song. I've assumed it's a bass. I'm not completely like technically musically minded or anything, but I think it's a bass. It's either a bass or like a guitar, or it could even be a synthesizer, but I'm pretty sure it's a bass. And obviously when this album came out on October 21st, I'd heard the 3 singles, so this was the first song that I heard on the album that I hadn't previously heard, and it was probably the song that jumped out to me the most on first impressions, which it's probably because it sounds completely different to everything else on the album. The band themselves, I think I've described this as sounding a bit like something from AM. I can kind of see it, but I think if it was on AM, it would have a bit more guitar on it. But yeah, but no, I really do like Sculptures of Anything Goes. It is, like I say, different to the rest of the album. The orchestration, it's subtle, and the vocals are nice. I really like the way Alex Turner's singing it, and he's even managed to get a classic English humour from the playgrounds of the United Kingdom. For all our playgrounds, a classic your mum joke, your mam joke, whatever. Yeah, he's managed to get that into the song. So yeah, good tune. I really like Sculptures of Anything Goes. So next track 4 is Jet Skis on the Moat. So this song, it's decent enough, but it's not. I couldn't really sit here and tell you anything about it because it's not gone in. It's like I keep listening to it and it just keeps going in this ear and out the other one. This is probably my least favourite track on the album. I have wrote here that the guitar is nice. It's a very sort of chill guitar, and don't mind the chorus. But overall, the song itself, it hasn't really made an impact on me. It hasn't hit me. It is probably one of the weaker tracks on the album, and it might grow on me. It hopefully will, but at the moment, it's doing nothing for me, this one. However, after that, we have track 5, Body Paint. Gonna say it now, this is the best song on the album. This is a brilliant song. This was the second single, and this is a genuinely really, really good song. It is without doubt better than anything else on this album. I've wrote here it's quite Beatlesy, which is a term that keeps getting thrown around a lot. A lot of people go, oh, that sounds very Beatlesy, and half the time it doesn't, but this genuinely does. It sounds particularly very Paul McCartney-like, in the sense it sounds like it's got very much like 3 distinct sections. So I'm saying Beatlesy, think of like Band on the Run by Wings. It's kind of like that, where it starts in one style, then it does something else, and then it ends with something else. Typical Paul McCartney style of songwriting, that. But yeah, I really like it. The vocals are fantastic. Alex Turner goes really like high pitched. There is a name for it, falsetto, I think it is. My friend, who I shan't name, George Cullen, I don't even know if he'll be watching this, but he said when he first heard this, and he's still saying it now, that he thinks Alex Turner can't sing anymore, which is why he's singing like this. Now, again, I am not musically trained, I'm not musically minded from a technical side of things, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be able to sing like this if he couldn't sing anymore. But hey, that's my opinion. I think he's singing it well. My mate thinks he isn't singing it well. We're all entitled to our opinions. But personally, I think the vocals are fantastic, and I love the piano on this song as well. I really like the line, if you're thinking of me, I'm probably thinking of you. I personally think this is the best line on the album. The orchestration on it is fab. Again, it's quite jarring, that middle bit, the watching your every move part of the song. I really like the orchestra on that part of it. And then at the end, it goes into like a 70s rock song, which, yeah, I really like it. Again, the backing vocals on here, they're excellent. And from the live versions that we've had of this, it sounds really, really good live. Yeah, Body Paint, my favourite song on the album. It seems to be a lot of people's favourite songs on the album. I know it's my girlfriend's favourite song on the album. Which is, you know, I've actually listened to this with my girlfriend, and you know, she wasn't massively, the album doesn't seem to have made an impact on her. She said it was she was waiting for something to happen and it never came, and I do kind of get what she means, but I'll come on to that at the end once I've finished all 10 tracks. But yeah, Body Paint, really, really good song. I really do like Body Paint. Right, after that, track 6, The Car. This is the title track. So this reminds me, if you've ever listened to Who Built the Moon by Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, there's 2 instrumental tracks called Interlude Wednesday Part 1 and End Credits Wednesday Part 2. And the acoustic guitar on that sounds very similar to the acoustic guitar. I think it's an acoustic guitar. Is it an electric guitar on this? The guitar on this, anyway. They sound very similar. Yeah, this one, it does sound like a film soundtrack. A lot of people don't seem to like this one. I've seen a lot of people criticising it. And to be honest, after Sculptures Do Anything Goes, this is probably the song that impacted me the most on first listen. Yeah, I like this one. Orchestration's nice. Yeah, decent tune in the car. It's a decent title track. Sung well enough. So yeah. Right, next track, track 7, Big Ideas. So the orchestration is very, very heavy on this song. It's probably one of the heaviest orchestrated tracks, this one. It's very much like one of those old Disney film, like from the 1940s, 1950s, 1930s even. Like the old Snow White and Beauty and the Beast and that sort of style. The sort of orchestration you got on those films, it sounds very much like that. I was also wondering when I listened to the lyrics of this, is it autobiographical? Is Alex Turner writing this about himself, that he had big ideas and that the band was so excited about them? You know, when you listen to it, it could be about him, it maybe isn't, who knows. But yeah, guitar at the end of this song as well. I really like how the guitar kicks in at the end. And again, I've wrote the vocals are great. I really like the way Alex Turner's singing it. Yeah, Big Ideas, decent tune. Right, track 8, Hello You. As I said, this is the only one that survived the late 2019 sessions. The orchestra, it's very, very striking on this tune. Yeah, just the way I think it's violins, the way they're playing. It's very, very striking. And the keys on this, from the keyboards, it's very, very nice. Just a little sort of riff, melody sort of thing they've got going. This is probably one of the most upbeat songs on the album. This is probably actually about as upbeat as anything gets on the album. Yeah, I really like this one. There's more high notes from Alex Turner, his vocals. Really good. Particularly on the chorus when he's singing Hello You. It's very high pitched there. So yeah, Hello You. I really like that song as well. Track 9, Mr. Schwartz. This song seems to be getting a lot of hype. This one seems to be one of the more popular songs. And an acoustic guitar appears. I think it's the first track to have an acoustic guitar on the album. Well, it's at the forefront anyway. And it's lovely. It's lovely to hear the acoustic guitar again. It's not been heard for a while on an Arctic Monkeys song. So yeah, it's nice to hear it. Again, very great vocals on this album, on this song. Really like it. The piano as well on here. It's a very nice bit of piano playing. I assume it's from Alex Turner. Yeah, really good. It's a chill song. It's a chiller vibe after the more upbeat Hello You that came before it. This sort of chills it back down again. The orchestra is, once again, it's here, but it's a lot more subtle on this song compared to the previous 2 tracks. It is toned down a bit more. And one of the best songs on the album, I think, Mr. Schwartz. Yeah, good tune. I'm excited to hear this one live. And then finally, track 10, the closing track, Perfect Sense. Again, this is a very orchestra-heavy song. I really like this one. It does sound like, obviously it's the closing track on the album, but it sounds like sort of something that would be played at the end of a film. Really, really like this song. It's really starting to grow on me, this one. I didn't really care for it when I first heard it, but now it's really, really starting to grow on me. I really do like Perfect Sense. yeah, it's great as a closing track, and I wrote here it's an epic song. So yeah, that's that. So the car overall, I like it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's the best thing that they've ever done. I do, at the moment, prefer Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino to this. And I know a lot of people will prefer stuff like AM or Suck It and See or whatever people say I am, or Favourite Worst Nightmare. Their earlier stuff, I know a lot of people will prefer that to this. But I don't think they're ever going to go back to that earlier style now. It's going to be more of this. Maybe they will go more guitar heavy again. But we will see. But it does seem like they've made another divisive album here. I don't think this is going to be any less divisive than the previous album. And I think my girlfriend did nail it right when she said, when she first heard it, she was waiting for something to happen and it never came, like a big track. And there isn't really like a big epic track. Body Paint is probably the closest we get to anything like that. But, you know, for example, the last album, Tranquility Base, it closed with the Ultra Cheese, which I think is a truly epic song. And whilst Perfect Sense I think is great as a closing track, I don't think it's to the same scale of epicness as the Ultra Cheese. So yeah, that is all for now. That is the car. They're now off to tour it. I'm seeing them next year in Manchester. Very excited for that. But if you haven't heard this album, it's worth giving it a try. If you don't like the first song, don't keep going, because you won't like where it goes after that. It doesn't really go any different from that. But in terms of where Arctic Monkeys go next, who knows? I've got a funny feeling that Alex Turner might go off and do a Shadow Puppets album again soon. But I do think they will eventually start. I do think he seems to be driven. He really seems to want to go back to do a guitar heavy thing. So I do think he will do it eventually, but it'll probably be a different style of guitar music. But for now, The Car, very good album. If you ain't heard it, give it a listen. And if you don't like it, then so be it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Ta-ra!